Paya Radha Krishna Nabajiya Radha Krishna Nabajiya Janiya Shoniya Bisha Koinu Janiya Shoniya Bisha Koinu Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Harinama Sankirtana Golokera Premadana Harinama Sankirtana Janmi lokene time kene time Pratina janmi lokene time Juraite na koinu upai Juraite na koinu upai Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachi Shuta Hoilo She Brajendra Nandana Jai Shachi Shuta Hoilo She Shuta Hoilo She Bala Rama Hoilo Nitai Bala Rama Hoilo Nitai Dina hina jata chilo Hariname udharilo Hariname udharilo Tada Shaki Jagai Madhai Tada Shaki Jagai Madhai Prabhu Nanda Shuta Vrishabhanu Shuta Chuta Vrishabhanu Shuta Juta Shuta Vrishabhanu Shuta Juta Karuna Kodoi Bhado Karuna Kodoi Bhado Narottama Dasakoi Nateli Hodangapai Nateli Hodangapai Toma Bina Keachirama Toma Bina Keache Ama Jaya Radha Madhava Jai Kunjo Vihari Radhamat Jaya Gopi Channa Vallabha Jai Girivardhari Jai Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Jai Girivardhari Jai Jashodanandana Jai Brajajana Ranjana Jai Brajajana Ranjana Jai Sadanandana Brajajana Jai Jamuna Tira Bonachari Jai Kunjavi Hari Jai Jamuna Tira Bonachari Jai Kunjavi Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jai Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Jai Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jai Nitai Gauranga, Gaura Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Radha Madhav, Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Shri Radha Madhav, Shriman Mahaprabhu Ashtashaki ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jayam Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtatara Srimad Abhay Charnana Vinamuktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Pratistata Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Acharya Vindagi, Anantagodi Vaishnava Vindagi, Kantrad Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Sinitai Gauda Premanandi, Hari Hari Mam. Mande aham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitangtang Shajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Shaidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shibishagam Vitangscha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dharma Projita Gaitava Atra Parama Nirmat Saranam Satam Vedam Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayunimilanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite King Vaipara Ishra Sadda Ridi Avarujyate Atra Kriti Vi Shushushibitakshanat. Evam Evam Kamashayam Chitham Kamanam Ati Shevayat Virajita Yata Rajan Agnivat Kama Bindubhi Evam Kamashayam Chitham Kamanam Atishevaya Virajita Yata Rajan Agnivat Kama Bindubhi. Please repeat. Matri Mandali. Hare Krishna. There's actually two verses today for discussion, and the second verse is written, so I will read the first verse. Upyamanam muho ketram swayam nirviryatam iyat na kalpate puna sutyai uttam bijam na cha nashati. And today's verse, evam, in this way, kama ashayam, full of lusty desires, chittam, the core of one's heart, kamanam, of the desirable objects, ati sevaya, by enjoyment over and over again, Virajata, may become detached. Jata, just as. Rajan, O king. Agnivat, a fire. Kamabindubhi, small drops of clarified butter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. My dear king, if an agricultural field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases and whatever seeds are sown there are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but a flood of ghee will. Similarly, overindulgence in lusty desires mitigates such desires entirely. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. If one continuously sprinkles drops of ghee on a fire, the fire will not be extinguished, but if one suddenly puts a lump of ghee on a fire, the fire may possibly be extinguished entirely. Similarly, those who are too sinful and have thus been born in the lower classes are allowed to enjoy sinful activities fully, for thus there is a chance that these activities will become detestful to them and they will get the opportunity to be purified. Prabhupada ki. Mukam karadi vachalam pangam langa tekinam chakripātamaham bande Shri Gunam dinatarinam vancha kapa turuvayashta kripātan nabhyapadinam pavaneva vaishnava namo namaha. This is the second last verse of the chapter, the four social classes. Subsequent to this, we'll be looking at the four ashrams as described by Narad Muni in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. This comment today is a little unusual. As the word for word is explaining that by excessive oti sevaya, by excessive sense gratification, it says that by enjoyment over and over again, ati sevaya, by enjoyment over and over again, virajata, one may become detached. And Prabhupada also said in the purport that it may be possible for a fire to be completely extinguished if we, at one moment we put a whole lot of ghee on it. It may be possible. But generally, sense gratification over and over again simply increases one's taste and one's appetite for more sense gratification. Kama rupena kunteya, Krishna explains in the second chapter of Gita, Kama rupena kunteya dushpuren analena cha, dushpuren analena, like a fire. Here the same analogy is given, that the more fuel you add to the fire, the more ferocious become the flames, and the more they're able to devour. Everywhere we're seeing Pune devotees on every angle. Susragatam. Revati Pati. So the analogy Krishna is giving there is dushparena analinacha, dushpuren. Puren means to fulfill, to complete. So dushpuren means that very difficult to fulfill. That there's always a feeling of unfulfillment, and therefore more is required. Durashaya yai bahiratamanina. Prahlad explains the same thing in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That bahir artamanina, those who are considering the bahir, the external energy, arta, very, very valuable and very important. Manina, those who consider that, Shri Radha Rasabihariji ki, Lalita Vishaka, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Nitai Gau ki. Those who consider that, durashaya, their desires, durashaya, means their asha, their desire always remains at a distance. Durashaya, yai bhariratamanina. Those who consider the material energy very important, their desires are never fulfilled. And in this way, overindulgence in sense gratification does not extinguish one's appetite for it. Actually, the material world is designed in such a way, the Janma Mrityu Chakra. It is a wheel that perpetuates itself. Chakra is a wheel. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he sings that Maya jale bhadda hoye, achal miche kaj loye. When we sometimes we're preaching to people and they say, "Oh Prabhu, it's so difficult. I have to get up early in the morning, so early. I have to leave for the office at 5 a.m. And then I don't get back at night time till 9 p.m. So it's very difficult for me to practice spiritual life. Very difficult." And then I just asked, "Can you rephrase your comment? You said you have to leave for work at 5 a.m. Yes, but I have to. But actually you don't have to. You don't have to. Maya jale bhadda hoye. You have tied yourself up. You don't have to, but you have tied yourself up. Maya jale, in the network of the illusory energy, Maya jale bhadda hoye. You've tied yourself up. Achal miche kaj loye. Therefore I am very, very busy, so much work to be done. I have no time for spiritual life. It's not my fault. Janma Mrityu Chakra, we tie ourselves up. Body after body. That the mentality at the time of death will produce a subsequent body. Sharidam yaravapnati vayuriva sagandaya. That just like the Krishna gives the analogy, just like the wind, it carries different aromas. You come to the temple, you can smell the sweet agurabati, and in the kitchen you can smell the ghee and the pakora frying. It's very appealing. And in the rose garden, and when you wander on the street, you go past the rubbish area where all the refuse is thrown, and it's rotten and it smells, and the whole area is permeating with that smell. So actually Krishna is giving the analogy that vayuriva gandayat, that the smell is in the air, but actually the air is pure. But it accepts these different smells, these different fragrance, accepts. It assumes it, and it appears that the air has that smell, but actually that's called conditioned. So the soul is pure, but it becomes conditioned by the material energy, and we accept the body. Srotam chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam granam eva cha adishtaya manashtaham vishayanupashevayat. Krishna goes on to explain, therefore, according to your mentality, you will get a certain type of srotram chakshushparshanam, a certain type of eye, a certain type of ear, a certain sense of touch, rasanam granam, a certain sense of taste, a certain sense of touch, adishtaya mana chaham, And this is based upon your mentality. Adhisthaya manas chaham. The senses, the body that we get is given based upon our mentality. Vishayen upashevayat. And in this again the word is seva, upashevayat. Therefore you are forced to enjoy according to the body that you receive. So therefore you see that the lower species, the dogs and the birds, they're forced to enjoy these things. They're forced to enjoy. Because the senses are designed to enjoy in that way. They cannot get out of it. So in this way, the excessive material sense enjoyment forces one to indulge in more sense enjoyment. It is, Prabhupada also explains in Nectar Devotion, he's quoting from Padma Purana, Aparabdam palam papam kutam pijam palonmugam, that there's different stages of sin. Kutam bijam, these are produced from sinful activity. If we perform pap, then one of the effects is called kutam. Kutam means the propensity to sin more. The propensity to sin more. And Prabhupada explains, in this way it is like a cycle, a vicious cycle. So one can only be liberated from this by the help of someone who is kind upon the Vaishnava and Krishna. Just like when the demigods, every day the demigods were visiting Mayapur and were observing the Leela of Srimad Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Every day the demigods would come on their chariots and observe the Sri Gauda Madhurya Leela Jar Kane Praveshila Hridaya Nirmal Bhelo Atar. Just by hearing the Sri Gauda Madhur Leela, the sweet pastimes of Srimad Mahaprabhu, Jar Kane Praveshila, whosever ears these sweet pastimes enter into, Hridaya Nirmal Bhelo Atar, they're purified. So demigods were coming to see the sweet pastimes of Mahaprabhu and see how these pastimes were purifying the whole universe. After Jagai and Madai had been delivered, the demigods were returning to their respective heavenly abodes in their chariots, and Yamaraj, he inquired from Chandragupta, his chief of clerks, in charge of the clerical department, Chandragupta, his chief clerk. On the way back, Yamaraj said, just exactly how much sinful reaction did Mahaprabhu clean away from Jagai and Madai? Exactly how much? To go back a few moments, after delivering Jagai and Madai, Srimad Mahaprabhu, he said, just look, brothers, see, my form is turning black. How do I look? And Advaita Prabhu said, you look like Shyam Sundar. And Mahaprabhu said, I'm showing you just to prove that I have absorbed all of these sins of Jagai and Madai, and now they are completely free from sin. And then he said, brothers, let us do kirtan, so these sinful reactions will leave my body. And he said, these sinful reactions will be reposed in those who offend Vaishnavas. So Yamaraj asked, just exactly, can you just check the account, and can you tell me exactly how much sinful reaction was absorbed and nullified by Srimad Mahaprabhu? And Chandragupta, he put his hand to his head and he said, don't ask. He said, don't ask. He said, the figure is immeasurable. He said, we had a whole department specially dedicated, a whole wing, department specially dedicated for Jagai and Madai. And all of the clerks who were recording the sins of Jagai and Madai, they were completely in exhaustion mode, complete burnout. He said, if you had 1,000 ears and 1,000 of my assistant clerks were to narrate the sinful activities of Jagai and Madai for a month, you still wouldn't come to an end. And Yamaraj is saying, and Chandragupta said, and now Mahaprabhu has said that press button, yes or no. Do you want to permanently delete the sins of Jagai and Madai from your hard drive? Permanent deletion. Finish. One. Yep. That's it. Yes, permanently delete. Boom. So, hearing about the Param Karuna avatar, Putit Pabon Hetu Tava avatar, and Kebala Ananda Kanda, the Param Karuna, the Shab avatar, Sharashiromani, Kebala Ananda Kanda, Shab avatara, Sharashiromani, the crest jewel of all the incarnations, the Param Karuna avatar. When hearing his about his mercy, about the extent of his mercy, Yamaraj fell unconscious on the chariot. And the other demigods, as they were returning to the heavenly abode, they noticed that Yamaraj's chariot had stalled, and Yamaraj was laying unconscious. So Brahma and Shiva, along with other demigods, they came to inquire what had happened, and they asked Chandragupta, and he explained the discussion that had occurred, and immediately they could understand, this is prema, he has become overwhelmed. Shri Go, what is that? Go Shanta Viti Sarvato. No, what's the one Radha Kundatale Kalinditanati Javang Premon Mada Vashada Shesha Dashaya Grashto Pramato Sada Premon Mada Gayanto Chakara Harir Guna Varam Bhav Abhibhutamudha. When we're hearing Gayanto, the glorification of Harir Guna, the glories of the Lord, Gayanto Harir Guna Varam, the glories of the Lord, Bhav Abhibhuta, the feelings overwhelm one. And Yamaraj, hearing about the extensive mercy of Sriman Mahaprabhu, Padit Pabon Avatar, he became completely overwhelmed with prema and fell unconscious. So then the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, they began a kirtan. And hearing the sweet Hari Kirtan enter his ears, Yamaraj, he immediately regained his consciousness and he began dancing in ecstasy along with his various assistants, and all of the demigods joined him. It is described that Lord Shiva was dancing in ecstasy to the kirtan of the holy name, and all his clothes were disheveled and fell here and there, and his matted locks were swinging to and fro. And Lord Brahma was dancing there with his family members, Kapil Muni and Kardama Muni and Brigu Muni. They were also dancing. And Lord Shiva, his family members Ganesh and Kartikeya also joined in the kirtan, and they were dancing. And Narad Muni, he became intoxicated and he lost his veena. And Shukadev Goswami, he also joined in the kirtan, and he was madly rolling on the ground and chanting, Jagai Madai, Jagai Madai, Jagai Madai. Shukadev Goswami. And even Lord Indra was crying from his 1,000 eyes. We know that Lord Indra was cursed by Brigu Muni, and he ended up, we won't go into the details of the curse today, another day, but he ended up with 1,000 eyes on his body. So tears were flowing from his 1,000 eyes, and he began calling out in ecstasy, how blessed I am that this curse has now become my good fortune, because with these 1,000 eyes I can see the sweet kirtan of the demigods as they are glorifying the Sriman Mahaprabhu, the Putit Pavan avatar. So in this way we can understand the actual process of evaporating one's material propensities is the participation in the Sankirtan movement. Therefore we are spreading the Sankirtan movement all over the world. And as we sang, Dina hina jata chilo, Hari name udharilo, Tara shaki jagai madhai. This example of Jagai and Madhai is the evidence, Tara shaki, of how powerful is the holy name. that even the most degraded, Dina, Hina, Jata Chilo, the most degraded, the Chitragupta, he could not enumerate, they could not estimate, they could not categorize how degraded were Jagai and Madai. There was no category that they could fit into. They were uncategorizable. Right? That's Dina, Hina, Jata Chilo, the most sinful, no one can compare. Hariname Udharilo. But this is the power of the holy name. And the Mahaprabhu is coming. Enechi Oshod Maya Nashi Baro Lagi. This is actually the medicine that we must take, that and anyone can take. Enechi Oshod Maya Nashi Baro Lagi Harinama Maha Mantra Lau Tumi Magi. You just take this Maha Mantra. It will revolutionize your Cheto Dapana Marjana. It will purify your heart. So today is a very significant day, because today happens to be the day that the anniversary of Srila Prabhupada arriving in New York City and inaugurating the Sankirtan movement in the Western world. Of course, for the last 12 months, 18 months, we've been celebrating the 50th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's inauguration of ISKCON and his journey. Last year we began in Kolkata the Jaladut Yatra, celebrating the 50th anniversary of Prabhupada beginning. So we had big celebration in Kolkata as celebrating Prabhupada's departing, stepping off Bharat Bhumi in the dock at Kolkata. And then the ship Jaladuta went down and circumambulated India and then stopped in Kochi. And the historical moment when the Mahapurana, the Srimad Bhagavatam, for the first time, it left India and it was taken outside of India for the first time. And the momentous occasion when Srila Prabhupada began his journey with his trunks of Srimad Bhagavatam to go and begin the Sankirtan movement in the West. So I was reading some comments from some letters that Prabhupada had written later, a conversation and some letters where he's reflecting. Prabhupada's reflecting on that momentous occasion when he boarded the Jaladuta and arrived in New York City. And if you're interested, I could share with you some of these reflections today. Would you like to hear? So Prabhupada's talking about this Agarwal family. This is very interesting. I didn't know this. But the connection with Mr. Agarwal was very brief. Was very brief. And let's hear about this. That Hari Sari is asking Prabhupada, Dr. Agarwal was your sponsor. And Prabhupada said, yeah, his father came to see me sometime when I was in Agra. His father and mother came. It was all by chance. I was there only for a few days as a guest at his father's place in Agra. And I did not know that his son was in America. And he was talking about his family. He was a little sorry. Why was he sorry? Listen carefully. He was a little sorry that his son went to America to study electric engineering, and he was entrapped by an English girl. And he was married and settled there and did not come back. So in this way, so I took he was just talking to Prabhupada, just lamenting about how this had happened. And Prabhupada said, I took the opportunity to ask, why don't you ask your son to sponsor me? I wanted to go to America. So I didn't know that he took it seriously. The Prabhupada is just saying this in a casual way. Perhaps we could expect that Prabhupada may have said this to many in many occasions. Just, why doesn't, not expecting anything would come of it, as we say sometimes. Why don't you open a temple there? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But we don't really expect anything to come of it. So I didn't know that he took it seriously, but I simply told him, why don't you ask your son to sponsor me for at least 1 month? I'm thinking of going to America. So that, Prabhupada said, then that was it. That was all. I didn't know he took it seriously. Then after 2 or 3 months, some documents came and I was receiving the letters in my postbox. 3 or 4 months, I got after 3 or 4 months, I got a no objection certificate from the Indian Embassy in New York. In other words, what was his name? Agarwal, the son, what was his name? Gopal. So he did, and he sponsored Prabhupada in the US Embassy, Indian Embassy, and he got the letter. Indian Embassy in New York. Gopal sent it to me. He just sponsored my arrival there for 1 month. So all of a sudden I got the paper, no objection, by the Indian Embassy. After so much inquiry and so much trouble, I learned that so much inquiry was done. Yeah, Prabhupada saying that I didn't realize that all of this inquiry and checking on me was going on by the Indian Embassy in New York and the immigration department, etc. So then I tried to take a passport and paper process. So I got the passport. Then Prabhupada came to Mumbai. And he approached Shumati Moraji. And his Prabhupada's explaining, she at once gave me 500 rupees in exchange for my Bhagavatam. And I approached her and I said, give me one ticket. They've got their shipping company, Skindia Navigation. And she said, Swamiji, you are so old. You are taking this responsibility. Do you think it is right? No, it is all right, Prabhupada said, laughing. At that time I was 70 years old. So the secretary, they thought Swamiji is going to die there. Anyway, they gave me the ticket, one return free ticket by their ship. Then the arrangement was going on, so there was another process to get a P form. Get a P form. So Prabhupada begins to describe now the experience that he went through getting the P form. A P form has to be sanctioned by the state government. The state government. So it was applied for. No sanction was coming. Then I went to the State Bank of India. This must be in Mumbai somewhere. I went to the State Bank of India. And the officer, Mr. Bhattachary. So he told me, Swamiji, you are sponsored by a private man, so we cannot accept it. If you are invited by some institution, then we could consider, but you are invited by a private man for 1 month. After 1 month, if you are in difficulty, there will be so many obstacles for you, etc. And Prabhupada said, but I have already prepared everything to go. And he said, I have already prepared everything to go. So I said that. What have you done? I have decided not to sanction your P form. No, don't do this. You better send your superior. I want to see your superior. It should not be done like that. Just see Prabhupada's determination. It should not be done like that. No, not acceptable. I want to see your superior. So he took my request and he sent the file to the chief officer of the foreign exchange, something like that. Anyway, he's the supreme man in the State Bank of India. So I went to see him. Prabhupada ki. So I asked his secretary that, have you got such and such a file? Right? Prabhupada's so expert. He's so intelligent. He knows how to do everything. He went and saw the secretary. Have you got such and such a file which was sent by that department? Could you imagine in India trying to do this? Find your file and follow up on it? What a headache. And Prabhupada personally went, have you got such and such a file? You kindly put it to his name was Mr. Rao. He said to the secretary, Prabhupada had such ability to influence people. The Shakti. To motivate people, to influence people. I mean, we could say to actually control, to just to achieve things, which are very difficult, because Krishna is empowering him. You give that file. So Prabhupada said that you kindly put the file to Mr. Rao. I want to see him. The top person in the State Bank of India. So the secretary agreed. And he put the file and put my slip that I wanted to see him. So I was waiting. So Mr. Rao came personally and he said, Swamiji, I have passed your case. Don't worry. In this way he said, I have passed your case. Don't worry. Hari Sori asked, did he know you from before? And Prabhupada said, no, he didn't know me. Somebody saw him later in Bombay and they reminded him, I know that Swami. He went to the USA. Who is that Mr. Rao? Huh? A special seva he did. I have passed your case, Swami. Prabhupada said, the name is there. He remembered. After all, he is an officer. He knows so many things. Prabhupada said, it is a great history. This is interesting. This is a letter that Prabhupada wrote to Hanumat Poda of Gita Press after he had began the preaching in America. And Prabhupada, in his own humble way, he describes what he has done. It is very sweet to hear. Let's hear what he wrote to Hanumat Poda. Sometime in the year 1922, when I was acting as manager of Dr. Bose's Laboratory Limited, I was fortunate enough to meet my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa, Paribrajagacharya 108, Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. Prabhupada Ki. On the very first meeting with His Divine Grace, he asked me to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya in the Western world. At that time I was a young man and a nationalist, admirer of Mahatma Gandhi and C.R. Das. So I replied him at that time, who would care for the message of Lord Chaitanya while we are a subject nation? In this way I had some argument with my spiritual master. And at the end I was defeated. But at that time, because I was already married, I could not take his words very seriously. In this way I passed on as a householder, but by the causeless mercy of my Divine Master, that order of preaching was impressed on my heart. I was initiated regularly in 1933 at Allahabad when Sir Malcolm Haley, the then governor of UP, opened our Gaudiya Math branch there. Then in 1936, my spiritual master left the world, leaving a message for me that it would be better for me to preach in the English language. So I was thinking very seriously, and then as late as 1944, I started my paper, Back to Godhead. Gradually, in 1954, I retired from my family life and began to live alone in Mathura, Vrindavan. In 1959, I was awarded sannyas by one of my godbrothers, His Holiness B.P. Keshav Maharaj. Then I began translating Srimad Bhagavatam. In 1960, perhaps 1961, I was your guest at the Gita Bagicha. You were very kind to help me partially for publishing my first volume of Srimad Bhagavatam through the Dalmia Charitable Trust. With great difficulty, I then published the second and third volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam until 1965, when I prepared myself to come to this country with some books. With great difficulty, I was able to get the P form passed by the controller of foreign exchange. And somehow or other, I reached Boston. Somehow or other, I reached Boston on 17th of September 1965. Today is 23rd, but I assume that the calendar is based on the Vaishnav, on the Tithi, because the date will change each year. But the arrival date was 17th of September, 1965. And I was thinking while on board the ship Jaladuta, why Krishna has brought me to this country. I knew that Western people are too much addicted to so many forbidden things according to our Vedic conception of life. So out of sentiment, I wrote a long poetry addressing Lord Krishna as to what his purpose was in bringing me to this country. That was another poem that Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladuta. And then upon arrival, Prabhupada wrote the Markin Bhagavat Dharma, preaching Krishna consciousness in America. Like to hear a few verses from Markin Bhagavat Dharma, Prabhupada's poetry upon arrival. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied. Therefore, they have no taste for transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. But by your causeless mercy, everything is possible because you are the most expert mystic. How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? Oh Lord, I am simply praying for your mercy so that I will be able to convince them of your message. Tomar ichai shab hoy mayar bash, tomar ichai nash mayar parash. Prabhupada's Bangla poetry. All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. This is very interesting. Yes, Krishna has the potency to deliver us, but it's not prerogative of the Lord to do that because udashina vadasinam. We've put ourselves in this material world and He is seated as so neutral, as a super soul. Udasina vadasinam udasin. However, upon the request of the dear devotee, the Lord will put His merciful glance over the conditioned soul simply to reciprocate with the request of the devotee. So listen to what Prabhupada says. That Toba icha hoy jodi tader udhar bhujibe nishtoy tabed kota she tomar. I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. I wish that you deliver them. So Krishna hears this prayer of his devotee and sends so many sincere souls to the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada, he quotes from the Bhagavatam, second chapter, text, canto 1, Srinvatam Swakata Krishna. He recites all those verses up to Chiddite Riyata Granti, describing the effect of hearing and chanting and its purifying and liberating potency. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or a failure as you like. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel engladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. Nachao, Prabhu, nachao she mate, koshter putali jata nachao she mate. Oh Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. You have brought me here to dance. Then make me dance. Make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. Bhakti nai, Beda nai, Nam khub dharo, Bhakti Vedanta Nam, Ebe Shartak Kor. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been designated as Bhakti Vedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, United States of America, 18th of September, 1965. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Shri Nitai Gauda Premanandi Hari Hari Bom.